I'm with Cleanaway. I'm on the engineering team within Cleanaway. And recently we've built a material recovery facility in Perth, a very large one. And I'm here, I was asked to come in and provide an update after our first year of operation. So I'm going to run through that today. I'm going to probably go through a little bit quickly. Some parts are technical, so if you have questions after the talk or during the conference, just run me down and I'll answer your questions. Something Mark said earlier about how we live in a bubble. We work in a bubble, the solid waste bubble. I've worked in a couple of different countries, and we keep talking about education and how it's important to resource recovery. But we need to put ourselves in outside of our bubble to really figure out how to make an impact. We want to run these plants and recycle high percentages of commodities so we can meet the China Sword program, etc. We need to think. I don't have the answers yet. I've been thinking about it in the last couple of weeks since I started to get involved more in this, come out and prepare for this talk. But how do we really get the message out there to get people to lower their contamination rates on what goes into the MRFs? So I'm going to just challenge you on that one. And to challenging ourselves as waste industry experts. So let's see. So today we'll talk about just a little bit briefly about Cleanaway. Why is the MRF important to us as a company? Talk about a little video kind of explains the MRF over the first year, what makes it a super MRF. We ran a textile pilot program during the year, give you some results on that. And then I'll talk about generally the first year results, what we've done, successes, some of the current challenges, and then finish up with some lessons learned and next steps. So Cleanaway, if everyone knows, Cleanaway is a large waste management firm, national footprint. It's an Australian-owned company. We're across the whole country, and we do solids collections, solids post collections, and liquids and industrial services. So that's the two-slide spiel on Cleanaway. Why is it so important to us? Cleanaway has established a 2025 footprint for sustainability. So we've got a drive for a sustainable future for Australia, and by 2025 we want to have a full breadth of infrastructure across the country that can provide sustainable solutions for everyone, our customers, the communities, etc. This MRF represents our first significant investment in this sustainable future. So it's approximately a $20 million investment for us, and it was completed, I think, May of last year, and been in operation just over a year. So what is the Perth Super MRF? When we started putting this together, we wanted to put together a highly automated system, something that can, we put in the materials, it's a very low labor process. So we talked to vendors. We had it specifically designed to be low labor and highly automatic. So we put in some optical sorters, a lot of mechanical pieces, mechanical sorters, mechanical screens. The idea would be to improve the customer experience. Single streams coming in, people that provide their single streams at the curb, they can just put all the recyclables in those bins. They don't have to separate them out. We've increased the safety performance around the facility. We've put in advanced lockout, tagout, cages underneath the screens. We've got much more advanced traffic controls on the facility for some of the issues, some of the things we've done. The site's capable of producing up to about 250,000 tons per annum of single stream recyclables. It was designed to deliver over 95% recovery. And then ideally we want to bring in best in class commodities, so high purity commodities are produced. And then we've designed it so that it can produce about 8 different commodities. Here are some of the items that some of the things that make the MRF special. We added in bagged line. We kind of expected to get a lot of bagged material in, so we put in a debagging unit. We've also put in a, this is what I'll talk about a little bit more later, is we put in a glass processing facility so that we actually get the glass out early in the process and remove it out of the stream so we can lower the contamination rates within the commodity products. So here's, can't have a technical discussion without a engineering drawing. Looks like a little bit like a spaceship, but this generally kind of shows the flow and the layout of the plant, where you have in-feed hoppers there. We have 2 in-feed hoppers. There's 2 lines in parallel that are each 25 tons per hour each. And I got a video coming up that's going to show what show the plant. So here's a 2-minute video. Is it going to start? Or,
Cleanaway's new material recovery facility in Western Australia is setting a new benchmark for sustainability across our great land. What makes this facility so extraordinary, you ask? Well, for starters, it's super scaled. One of the most advanced facilities of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, able to process an incredible 50 tonnes of recyclable materials in under an hour. Over the course of a year, that equates to an extraordinary amount of recovered materials. 53,000 tonnes of paper and cardboard, 7,300 tonnes of plastics, and 1,000 tonnes of aluminium and metals to be precise. A superior throughput like that wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the introduction of new technologies and automated processes, such as the ability to directly bale and transfer segregated recyclables, and a new glass crushing and cleanup technology that yields a commodity that's ready for immediate use in civil construction. When it comes to sorting, the Perth MRF features an advanced optical sorting system, allowing us to target products and sort 8 types of materials. Standard material recovery facilities are unable to open sealed bags, meaning valuable commodities literally go to waste as landfill. Our new facility overcomes this challenge, using mechanical bag breakers to unlock hidden potential and recover more materials for reuse. This new technology makes life much simpler for Cleanaway business customers, removing the need for complicated waste streams, allowing them to sort their waste in much the same way as they would at home. Our customers can rest easy, knowing the highest possible recovery of recyclables will occur, maximising commodities for reuse and reducing landfill. So there you have it. The Perth Materials Recovery Facility is an extraordinary facility, not only for Western Australia, but for the future of resource recovery in Australia, and is yet another example of how Cleanaway is making a sustainable future possible.
So, this was the first day. This was the first 2 loads brought into the facility, and it marks the beginning of a great year for the facility. Very successful year, very big success for recycling within Western Australia. So, what were the results the first year? So we processed actually more than we anticipated. So the plant is designed for about 250,000 tons per annum. We anticipated doing around 100,000 tons per annum the first year. We ended up doing about 130,000. Our recovery rates of the material that comes in that's recoverable, we captured about 97% of that, which was above what the plant was designed for. And then our purity rates for the commodities that we did generate are exceeding an average of 96%. That's pretty good. We've recovered around 65,000 tons of paper, 1,000 tons of aluminum, or aluminium, as you say. And then one of the big successes of the plant was that this glass processing. So we actually removed 36,000 tons of glass from the plant and diverted from the landfill. So that was significant. So one of the programs we did do is we had some sustainable programs that we kind of experimented with throughout the year. One of them was this textile recovery partnership with Good Sammy's. It's where early in the first few months of commissioning, we tried pulling out textiles in our pre-sort. So we actually put cages, small half-cubic meter cages in our pre-sort lines, and we had the sorters for every half day or half a shift would fill up those containers. So we were able to collect quite a bit of material in that first week. The only issue is that when we first started the plant, we stockpiled some materials. The materials there was a large pile, they were somewhat compacted. I think that it increased the amount of glass in the textile, so when they were pulling them out, there was a lot of glass. So we stopped the program. We're actually going to reinitiate the program here in the next month or two, and we expect, we got much smaller volumes on our floor, and we're actually, the operators and the material handlers understand a little better about in-feeding and how to fluff the waste up, and I think we'll get a much better success of recovering the textiles. Again, here's the glass line. So what we do is after the material goes through a pre-sort process, we've got a screen that separates out the large cardboard, and below that we've got a debris breaker screen. That's glass breaker screen. So all the glass is broken in that screen. It falls, all of that and a lot of the fines fall through, and then they're pulled off the main line and put into some inline air sorters, and then they go into the crusher, and then that crushes the glass. During that process, we also filter out the other fines, the small plastic caps and little paper and things like that. So we actually produce a pretty good product, and that product is actually used for road base. So we're actually diverting, again, 36,000 tons of glass from the landfill. So if anyone wants to see this, I brought some for show and tell. And the other point is that we do audit our waste residue, and we got about 0.5% of glass in our waste residue. So first year lessons. To be a super MRF, you gotta operate like a super MRF, okay? You've got to have really good maintenance. Even though it's the first year, you get a lot of moving parts. You can have a great maintenance program. You can invest a lot of time into maintenance. I mentioned the in-feed process. You just can't slap the material into the MRF. You got to put it in a certain way. Obviously you want the material loose so the MRF can separate the material. If it's all coagulated up or blocked up, the plant can't work as well. And leadership and training, you got to think super. If you want to run the plant great, you got to be great as leaders. Other challenges we've had, lessons learned would be the waste profile wasn't necessarily what we expected. So we're not getting as much newsprint. And when we designed the plant, we put in two newsprint lines, and so now we realize that we may not need both those lines, and we're looking at modifying that. One of the safety issues we had was, for some reason out in Western Australia, a lot of flammable canisters came through. So, and the plant, we didn't get them all picked out, and we collected those canisters into our closed door baler, and we actually had a couple of explosions. We've now invented that baler, and we actually added an additional QA line to actually pull out those flammable containers so we can reduce that risk. And then we've also, for some reason, there's a lot more flattened containers in WA, especially aluminum and plastic are flattened, and they're getting through the system into our paper. So we're trying to look at how to address that. And then we put in a bag breaker thinking that we would have a lot of bagged material. We're not getting as much as we need. So we're looking at what we can do with that debagging unit, because we're not really using it at the moment. So challenges, obviously, national sort policy is a challenge. We have to get down to get very high purity material to go to China. That's a big challenge for us. We're looking at, and I'll show a few things we're trying to do to realign a system to be able to reach this purity. Some of our compatriots in the U.S. are sacrificing residue content. So instead of pulling out the bad material, they're actually identifying all the really good material, and they're pulling that out. And they're pulling out by hand and leaving a much greater residue. So and they started sending their product to China recently. So, but at the sacrifice of having to dispose of a lot more material by getting out the really good stuff. Dust management, the glass crusher makes a lot of dust. That's a constant battle for us. We're looking, trying to, what's the best solution? Like I mentioned earlier, how do we increase the community and customer education? How do we get them to stop putting in contaminated materials into our incoming material streams? And then another challenge is around technology. How long is this China sort thing going to be around? Do we want to invest into additional processes to meet that purity, or do we want to look at other outlets for other markets for our commodities and invest in those processes? So some of the next steps, we're going to start the second pilot program. May install a bottle perforator. We're having some issues with liquid in our bottles, and that can interact with optic sorters, and we lose efficiency on the optic sorters for pulling out those bottles. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at realigning some of our newspaper lines, and also looking at trying to capture some more fiber out of our waistline, because we've got a small percentage there, but we can capture out and trying to put back into our commodity. So, just want a special thanks, because you can't be a team without a super team that work at the plant. So, just want to say special thanks to our MRF team. That's it.